want to chat about a couple of things. One thing in particular is, the lack of creativity in trans representation over the years. Now there are exceptions, and I will say that things are getting a lot better out there, but there's one particular trope that I find particularly boring. The mirror. When we find trans characters in media, and we're telling a trans story, there's always going to be the scene where they're looking into a mirror. It's the mirror trope. There are a few other very common tropes with trans stories, but the mirror is persistent. There's something about trans people and mirrors that people writing trans stories, I don't know if these are cis people or trans people. I cannot confirm for each piece of media, but the older stuff, I'm going to say maybe written by cis people, just because trans people, opportunities, equal rights, all that sort of stuff. So essentially what happens in the mirror scene is that a trans person is looking at their reflection and they're not having a good time. The only way that writers seem to be able to figure out how to display dysphoric feeling and create sort of an empathetic moment with the audience as they too observe the trans body. It's been called the prosthetic transgender gaze by Halberstam, who's a great theorist in this sort of area of trans representation and sort of bodies in speculative fiction, in particular gothic horror. And these scenes are designed to help audience feel the pain of dysphoria and sympathize with transness. It's a vicarious experience of dysphoria, one that is easy to consume and very simplistic. And there's a place for that type of storytelling. Can we do better? Because what is so common in these sort of trans narratives is that the trans body is a place of pain and sorrow, melancholy. It reinforces the gender binary in that with the gaze of the audience and the gaze of the trans person on the trans body, it's designed so that people can look at the body and say, yeah, well, that's clearly not the gender they want. I could see why they might be in pain. Which is just such binary thinking, because it's not about genitals or sexual characteristics, or it's not about those attributes. Yes, we seek medical intervention so that we can feel more comfortable, feel like our body matches our internal sense of our bodies. This mirror scene, coupled with the surrounding sort of tragic tales of transness, gives us a moment of sympathetic, prosthetic transgender dysphoria. Can we do better than the mirror? I think we can. I don't think transness is about physicality only. It's not just about the reflection in the mirror. Gender, I think, as a trans person, you quickly discover is a multifaceted grey area that's been dominated by viewpoint of the gender binary. It's so rife with baggage about what the genders are and what they mean, and the fact that there are two very distinct genders and sex. This dysphoric moment in the mirror, it doesn't capture the experience of looking outside of the binary. Now, I'm not saying that every trans person is not, though I am. I'm saying that it is more complex than the way that this story has been told. And I would like, this is my goal with my stories and with what I teach, is to think about other ways we can share this experience that doesn't shy away from complexity to be more consumable for cisgender viewers. Now, how can we do that? There are some people who are doing some good stuff out there. One story that comes to mind is by Michael Earp, and it's in the anthology Avast. Pirate Stories by Transgender Authors. Yeah, a bit of a spoiler warning. Alright, I've got the book right here. It's it's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying getting through this one. But the story I'm talking about is called An Ocean Bloom by Michael Earp. And in it, our non-binary main character is a Selkie. What's interesting about what Michael Earp is doing here is that this character carries around their skin, their seal skin. So a Selkie basically can move between being a human and being a seal. I think that's correct. And they do so by shedding skins. Well, at least shedding the seal skin and then, or at least changing between forms. This is interesting because we're working with a non-binary character. The story is not about them being non-binary or being trans. It's about their rights and mistreatment as a mythical creature. Now, this mythical creature is the Selkie, and they are, I believe, almost like sort of hunted and collected in this world. As, you know, humans can't really help themselves but do that when anything is different, make a bit of a show out of it. Yeah, so this whole idea of the skin and the true self and this mythical creature, it sort of explores the idea of having a body, having multiple forms of a body, what it's like to be home in a body, and what the contours mean. Now, I really recommend you read this anthology just to see what people are up to in this sort of space, thinking about things and trans stories, and some great stuff in there. Lots of fun, queerness, and pirates. And, you know, this is not entirely, you know, Earp isn't the first one to do this. I'm not the first person to make this sort of comparison and link and find this stuff important. Typically, it's a tradition in sort of queer storytelling to adopt a mythical creature as it allows for almost a canvas of queerness and complexity and subverting expectations in a way that's not making it a tragedy and not just asking for sympathy, but looking at the empowerment of being trans and queer and looking at the gifts and not just simply trying to get a cis audience to feel dysphoria, but to ask questions about identity and bodies and gender and what it means to be in a body in general. These types of ideas are interesting to you. I would recommend signing up for my newsletter or subscribing or doing both, because I'm going to be announcing some interesting stuff soon in terms of my own new fiction work that I've been working on. It's going to look at these ideas as well, and I want your thoughts. I want to talk about this stuff because it is endlessly fascinating to me, and I think interesting way, and it's useful way to sort of look at and talk about the nuances of our experiences. So I will see you next time. Thank you for listening, and I hope any of it made sense.